Okay, hi guys, welcome to solution video for, what is this, assignment 7. Okay, so as you can see, I've already got my form. I don't think you guys need help on doing the form, so I've already created that. All my controls have been properly named and given the appropriate text. So we're going to just jump straight into the code. So I'm going to work with the chicken first, making the chicken run across the screen. So first things first, I'm going to import all the images I need for the chicken. So I click on my picture box, click choose image, project resource file, import. I'm going to locate the images that are required, lecture 7, homework 7. Oh, whoops, too far. Required images, and here are the 6 images I need. I'm going to select all 6 and set number 1 to be the current image. I'm then going to stretch the image just so that it looks decent. Okay, what's next? I need a timer to be able to make this little chicken run, so I'm going to go ahead and get the timer control and just add it to the form. It's not a visible control, so it won't actually get added to the form. Instead, it will get added down here, just like your open file dialogues and yeah, things like that. Properties for this timer, I'm going to give it a name. TMR walk should be fine. And enabled is going to be set to false initially. And we're going to change its interval to, let's say, 50 milliseconds. Okay, that should be good. I'm going to now change it that on form load. So once this form loads, we are going to make this timer enabled. So how do we do that? We can either double click on the form, or we can go to the event and go to here, double click on load. Then I'm simply go to tmr walk.enabled is equal to true. So what that does is it actually begins the clock. This little timer over here, it begins making a tick. So initially it's enabled to set to false, and now it's enabled to set to true, and it begins ticking. What do we want to happen when it's ticked? So that's an event for the timer. We go to the events and click on this. It creates a new event handler, tmr walk underscore tick. So each time this timer ticks, we want this little chicken to make it look like it's walking. So how do we do that? Well, firstly, we need to find out what the current image is and then set it to the next image. As we saw over here, each of these images is like another step that the chicken takes. So we want to move from 1 to 2 to 3. We don't want to move from 1 to 5 to so on. We want to make it look like it's actually walking. So how do we do that? First, we got to figure out what image it's currently on. So in order to do that, we're going to need, I'm going to use an integer to store the value of the current image. In this case, int, I'll say image num is going to be equal to 1, because that's what we've initially set it as. Then I'm going to check if image num is equal to 1, set pbx chicken.image to be equal to from properties dot resources. We're going to want image number 2, because it was 1, we want to set it to now number 2. And then additionally, we want to make it move forward. So to make something move from left to right, we increase its left property. So let's go ahead and do that. pbx chicken.left is plus equals to, let's say it goes ahead by 10 every time. Again, plus equals to, not equals to, else it just stays in that 10th line, or 10th pixel rather. So that's it for the first image. What happens if it's not on the first one? We're going to need to do that code. So else, and then we can just copy this. Else if, and then copy this. So if 2, if 3, if 4, if 5, if 6. If it's equal to 6, we want to set the image to be 1. If it's 5, we're going to set it to 6. If it's 4 to 5, 3 to 4, 2 to 3. That should begin to make our chicken walk. It's not 100%, I just want to test. Oh yeah, clearly it's not making our chicken walk. So why is it not? It was moving the 10 left, but it wasn't changing the images. So let's figure out why. I'm going to comment out these movement ones, just so it doesn't run off the screen, and check if it's actually changing the image. Oh, okay, I know why. I'll check again. I figured it out, but you can see it's not running. So what's happening is I've set the image number is what we're checking, but I'm not actually setting the image number to what it's currently set. I'm just setting the actual image. So after each image is changed to a certain number, we got to change our variable image num to be equal to that same image number. Let's go ahead and copy paste, but instead of 2 it's now 6, 5, 4 and 3. This should do it. Okay, now I've got halfway through. Why did it only get halfway through? If image number is equal to 1, set it to be 2. If it's 2, set it to 3. If it's 3, set it to 4. If it's 4, set it to 5. Okay, I'm gonna yet again take out these guys, just so my chicken doesn't run off the screen, and check it another time. So it stops there. Gets one cycle through, but then doesn't continue. That's just because I forgot to copy paste it over here. My bad. Oh wait, that's right, at 1, but set image num to 6 to 5. That's a bit of a problem with copying and pasting. Can create more error catching opportunities. What have I done here? 1, 2, 3. Why 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If 1, we're going to set it to 2. If 2, set it to 3. 3, set it to 4. 4, set it to 5. 5, set it to 6. If 6, set it to 1. Let's just make sure he walks on the spot now. There we go. That looks a lot better now. Now we can make him move forward. Whoops. So yeah, it's fine copying and pasting, but you can get errors like you saw there. Just make sure you catch all of them. So there we go. Now my chicken walks across the screen, but now it disappears over here somewhere. So what do we have to do? We have to, every time he reaches this side, we're going to make him reappear on this side. So what is this side? It's basically just the width of the form. So we're going to check if, let me just group this. If, what is it, pbx dot left location is greater than or equal to this dot width. So if its left location has reached it or gone beyond the width, we got to do something. What do we have to do? We have to move the chicken back to the starting position. If it is not, we're just going to keep running that chicken forward. So if it is, we're going to reset the chicken's starting position to be equal to, i.e. its left position, to be equal to 0 minus pbx chicken dot width. So why I say 0 minus pbx chicken dot width is 0 will be this side over here, and minus the width means that it will get pushed all the way to like over here somewhere, so it looks as if it has walked through there and reappeared here. Meanwhile, we just pushed it all the way here off the screen and it continues walking left. Let's check if this works. There we go. So it goes off, the left reaches greater, it starts that side again, but it doesn't start right on the border. It starts off and then walks on. So that looks good. So that's working with a timer. As you can see here, we have done it under the timer tick event handler. What we can also do is just change the duration of those ticks. So we can make it go really, really fast. If we make it, let's say 1, and he sprints across the screen now. Or we could make like 1,000. Then it's going to be really slow motion, as you can see. Super, super slow. So I'm going to leave it at, I don't know, 25 is somewhat a decent speed. Let's see. Maybe 50. Okay, so the chicken part is done. Now let's go ahead and do the changing of letters and all that type of stuff. I'm going to minimize this just so we have a bit of extra space here. So what do we have to do in this part? The user is going to provide a word in this text box. They're going to choose a letter that they want to be changed, and then choose what letter they want to change that previous letter to. So in the example, they typed in the word lessons. They wanted to change all the S's to K's. So this was the before, and this is what it changed to. So notice all these S's have been changed to K's. Okay, sweet. So how do we do this? Well, first let's start off, as we always do, by getting the user input. So we're going to have 3 strings: the input, change to, and change from. We're going to set all these variables to the user's input. So we got input is equal to txt in. What did I call it? Txt is equal to txt word.text. The next one is change to is equal to txt change to.text, and change from is equal to txt change from.text. Okay, so now we got the user's input. Now we need to run through each individual letter of this word. So we got to check, is this one the same? Yes, no. Is this one the same? Yes, no. Is this one the same? Yes, no. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to need some repetition. In this instance, the repetition that we're going to use is a for loop. So let's get our structure of that for loop out. So remember, inside here you got to have your conditions, your counter, etc. So I'm going to use int I, set it to be equal to 0. We must run while, in other words, our condition, while I is less than the input. What of the input? We want to run it while it's less than the length of the input. So length refers to how long this input is. If it's a 20-letter word, it's going to run 20 times. If it's a, I don't know, 2-letter word, it's going to run twice. What do we need to do with our I? We need to increase it continually so it runs through each individual letter of that word. Okay, so now we've got a for loop that runs as required. But what do we need to do? For each letter, we need to check whether it is, what is it? If it matches the change from variable. So how do we check something? We use an if statement or a decision statement. So we check if the input at index I, check if it is equal to the change from. We're going to need, so change from is a string, index is a char, so we're going to say convert.toChar. Let's go ahead. Okay, so what does this mean, what I've got over here? So we're checking, well, you guys should all know what an if statement is by now, but let's check in more detail the conditional statement inside this if statement. We're checking if our input, so our string, what the user inputs over here, at a certain index. We use these square brackets to indicate index. So if, for example, I put input at index 0, whoops, let me put that, and I just got a string random let is equal to, what should be a char actually here, yeah. Okay, the reason this is a char is because, remember, a char is an individual character, and at each position within a string there can only be one character, if that makes sense. So at position 0 there can be whatever the first letter is, position 1 whatever the second letter is, position 2 third one, and so on and so on and so on. So that's why it's a char, not a string, because it's each individual slot within that word. So what we've done here is we created a char. We've said random letter, this is just for example's sake, and we've said that is equal to input at position at index 0. So it looks at the word input, this thing over here, and it looks at the index 0, so the 0th letter, which would be the first letter because it starts counting at 0. So if we went index, let's say 5, it would be the sixth letter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It would be the N. That's because this is the 0 index, the first index, second, third, fourth, and then the 5th index, which is what we've typed over here. So to get back to the problem, what we've done here is we've checked if the input at index I is equal to the change from letter, so this letter that the user has entered over here. We say at position I because what happens is this for loop creates the variable I, its counter variable, sets it at 0, and then it checks if the input string at position 0 is equal to the change from. So if that position or that letter is equal to that one. If it is, we're going to do something. What are we going to do? We're going to change its letter. Where's our output of this? It's this label over here. So we're going to go LBL. Oh no, wait, sorry. It's actually this label over here. LBL after label. LBL after dot text is equal to, or rather plus equal to, no, if it is, we got to do the changed to. If it is not, we're gonna go LBL after dot text, rather like this, is plus equal to the input at I. Input at I. Okay, so what have I got here? I check. We run a for loop for the amount of letters inside, or for the length of the input. So if the input, this thing over here, is 10 letters long, we run this for loop 10 times. Each time we run this for loop, we check if the input's letter at position whatever, 1 through 10, if that is equal to the letter that the user wants to be changed, then we're going to change it to whatever the user asked us to change it to. If it is not, so else, we're just going to change it, or we're going to keep that letter the same rather. We're not going to change it. That's the for loop. And then we need to also set, we need to set LBL before dot text to be equal to the inputs, which doesn't exist. Let me just move this cut to right here, then it will exist. Is equal to input. There we go. Let's take a quick test. Chicken's running. Let's use their example. Change, let's change, and K. Okay, so I haven't reset the text over here, so I need to just reset the text, but I can see that we still got some letters that are S's, even though we asked to change S's. That's because that's a capital and those aren't, so I'll fix that now. First, let me reset LBL text, not before. LBL.after is equal to text, rather, is equal to nothing. So I mentioned that the letters weren't changing appropriately. So what was happening is we got lessons over here. We want to change S to K, and it would just keep it the same. If I made this a small s, however, it suddenly changes it. So basically, this if statement over here is case sensitive, because this was a large letter. What I wanted to change from was a large letter or capital letter, and this over here was a small letter. So it read those two things as not matching because it's case sensitive. So instead, I'm going to go letter at I dot, change over here, dot to upper. I'm just going to go ahead and change everything to capital letters. And let's go ahead and test it again. Input word is lessons, S to a K. There we go. So now everything is in capital letters, and it actually picks up the matches regardless of what case I put it in. If I put this in that, it's still going to pick it up. Let me just change that. Still picks up all three letters regardless of the case that I've left it in. Okay, so that looks to be about it. Let me just save this and reread the brief, make sure that I've got everything done. Ooh, here's another example. Let's quickly test that this one also works for the example they've got over here. Okay, we're gonna change O to a Y. Change Myandays. Yeah, that looks right. Okay. Yeah. Validation, these will provide about. Yeah, let's check the rubric. Our code runs. Chicken looks like it's running. Letters are properly replaced. Validation. Okay, so we don't have validation error handling. If I just do this, it doesn't tell me, hey, please put in a letter. So I'm going to go ahead and do some validation error handling. If else. Okay, so if txt charform.text is equal to nothing, or txt change from, not form, is equal to nothing, or dot text, damn it, dot text is equal to nothing, or what is this last one, txt word dot text is equal to nothing. So if any of them are blank, if this one's blank, or this one's blank, or this one's blank, we're going to display a message box saying dot show, please input the details in all the fields, or something like that. And then if those three aren't, if each of those has something in them rather, we're going to run the code that we want to, which means that something was there to be replaced. Okay, so we can't just say at the end of here message box dot show, we can't just say all replacements were made, because for example, as I'll show you now, say we've got the word Bob and we want to replace all the Y's to A's. It says here all replacements were made, when in actual fact there was no Y in there, so no replacements were made. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a little flag variable. So a flag variable is something that will change to true or false during the code. So at the end of the code we can check if it was ever changed to true, we ought to do something different. So a true or false variable, that's the bool data type, and we just call it a flag. We'll set it to be equal to initially false. Oh, yeah, oops, I don't know what that is. For ease of understanding, I'm going to change this to letters found. So if letters is found is set to false initially, because obviously immediately no letters are found. If, however, it does match over here, we're going to set flag. Oh no, wait, what do we change to? Letters found to be equal to true. Then, right at the end here, after everything, we're going to check if the letters found is equal to true. We're going to tell the user that we've made all the replacements. However, if it's false still, then we're going to type a different message box to those users that states that letter doesn't occur in the provided word. So now, when we got Bob over here and try change a T to a Q, it says that letter doesn't occur in the provided word, which is true. However, if we change B to, I don't know, what are we going to go here, tot, then it tells us all replacements were made. So it found the letter B and it replaced it with a T regardless of the capitals or not, and it's done. Okay, so good thing I checked the rubric, because also I wouldn't have done that error handling and all that stuff. and made myself somewhat, user-friendly messages. Okay, so I think that's about it. Let's check group 7. Chicken looks like it's running. Chicken re-emerges from the left. Letters are properly replaced. Validation, user-friendly messages, and coding principles. So the only thing I don't have here is some comments. Just make sure you guys add comments to your code. I mean, I don't need to comment. I was talking you through it the whole time. Just a couple of new concepts. There's this for loop over here. It's similar to a while loop, but instead of having a counter created outside, we create the counter over here. We increment or decrement the counter over here, and we have the conditional statement over here. So it creates our counter. You can make your counter equal to anything initially, so 10 for example, and you can increment or decrement your counter by any number. So you can make it increase by 10 every time, or -1 every time, or minus equals to reduce it by, like, let's say 100, whatever number that is, 10,021 every time. For our simplicity's sake, it's just going to be increased by 1 every time because we want to go through that word. So yeah, that's about it. Here's all the code you need for the chicken running, as well as to change the letters inside the word. It's an if statement within a for loop. Yeah, that's about it, guys. I hope you found it useful, and yeah, just useful, and that you guys learned something. I'll check you guys in the next one then. Cheers.